DJ Maphorisa didn't just wake up one day as the most powerful man in Amapiano. He wasn't handed influence. He built it beat by beat, deal by deal, and record by record. Before the world knew him as one of the architects of South Africa's biggest musical export, he was Temba Sunny Boy, a kid from Sosha, Pretoria, with a sharp ear for rhythm and an even sharper understanding of how the industry works. This wasn't luck, it was strategy, a long game played with precision, because to understand how Pori became the industry's ultimate gatekeeper, you have to understand what a gatekeeper actually is. In every music scene, there's always someone who holds the keys. The person who decides who gets studio time, who gets signed, who gets featured, and who gets left out. They control the access, the distribution, and most importantly, the masters. And in the Amapiano world, that person is DJ Pori. Pori isn't just a producer. He's an architect, a businessman, a connector. He's the guy who made Amapiano go global and made sure that when it did, his hands were on every switch that powered it. You see, Maphorisa's story starts long before the log drum took over dance floors. He first rose to fame with Oskido and Kalawa Jazmee, producing for some of South Africa's biggest acts. He worked on White Chukucha, Soweto Baby, and Particular, songs that not only topped charts, but introduced African rhythms to a wider world. By the time most people caught onto his name, he had already mastered the one thing every artist eventually learns. Talent is common. Access isn't. So he built his own. When Maphorisa founded BlaqBoy Music, it wasn't just another label. It was a fortress. A place where he could control every step of the process, from creation to release to profit. He wasn't just making music, he was building a system. And that system became the blueprint for how he would later dominate Amapiano. When the Amapiano wave started bubbling in townships and small clubs, most big names didn't take it seriously. But Pori saw something. He saw the groove, the potential, the emotion. And when he teamed up with Kabza the Small, everything changed. Together they became the Scorpion Kings. And that partnership was more than a collaboration. It was a takeover. They took the underground sound of the people and polished it into a global product. Deep log drums, soulful vocals, jazzy textures. Maphorisa and Kabza turned raw local energy into a sound ready for the world. Spotify would later call him one of South Africa's biggest global exports, saying he wasn't just making music, he was exporting a movement. But with great success comes control. And that's where Maphorisa's story gets complicated. Because while he built the Amapiano empire, he also built the walls that surround it. He made himself indispensable. You want access to the top Amapiano playlists? Talk to Maphorisa. You want distribution through the right networks? Maphorisa's labels are already there. You want features with the biggest names in the game? He decides who's in the room. That's the thing about being a gatekeeper. You don't just open doors. You decide who gets to walk through. It wasn't just power for power's sake. Maphorisa had a plan. He understood that control over chap masters and distribution is the real game in music. Whoever owns the masters owns the future. He once claimed that his new business module forced aggregators to sell their companies to major labels like Universal, Warner, and Apple. Boss moves, he called them. Moves that shifted the market share of South African music to his advantage. And maybe he was right, because when the Ingrooves music group an American distribution giant, acquired South Africa's Electromode, the same network that distributed releases from Maphorisa's labels. It gave him something even more valuable than money: access, global access. Now his ecosystem of artists, Kabza the Small, Tyler ICU, Mass Music Shasha, was plugged directly into a worldwide network. That meant global streams, international collaborations, and revenue pipelines that all connected back to him. It was a masterclass in industry domination. But like all empires, it came with tension. As his power grew, so did the whispers. Because the same system that made him the most successful producer in the country also made him one of its most controversial figures. The word gatekeeper began to take on a different tone. Artists started speaking out. First, it was Adversito, Samthing, Soweto. Their collaboration had produced hits like Amantombazane, songs that defined an era. But then came the questions. Who owned the masters? Who controlled the royalties?
To thank everyone who has come to defend me over the few weeks, especially after the release of Amalanga Afani. Watu Upuri, the one Ganbake did on that song by releasing it without crediting me and doing all sorts of things that I can't really get into. It's not okay. Some of that stuff was illegal.
Maphorisa claimed he had given Samthing Soweto the masters to his album Isipatipatist for free. But Samthing Soweto pushed back, saying he actually paid for them. The debate went public. Screenshots, interviews, heated lives. Pori even said he was waiting for an invoice so he could pay something back for other songs, offering a strange deal. Either get paid and lose ownership, or return the money and split the rights. To some, it sounded like business. To others, it sounded like control. Then came Sir Trill, another rising star with hits under Maphorisa's orbit. He accused producers of withholding royalties, claiming that the people at the top were eating while the voices behind the music starved. Maphorisa denied it all, posting bank receipts to prove he had paid. Still, the damage was done. Fans started asking if the king of Amapiano had become its gatekeeper for all the wrong reasons. But to understand Maphorisa's, you have to hold two truths at once. He's both the mentor and the mogul, the builder and the barrier, the man who gave dozens of young artists a platform, and the same man accused of owning too much of their success. Because if you strip away the headlines and the drama, what's left is a man who understands the industry better than most. Maphorisa knows that creative genius doesn't pay unless it's protected. He knows the game of masters, splits, and publishing better than the lawyers do. And for many of the artists he's developed, Kabza the Small, Young Stunner, Daliwonga, Shasha, that mentorship turned them into stars. He doesn't just sign artists, he develops them. He shapes their sound, their image, their stage presence. He calls it fighting for Amapiano. And in a way, he's right. Without that structure, maybe the genre would have stayed underground, never breaking into London clubs or New York festivals. But that's the duality of DJ Maphorisa. He built the gate, but now everyone has to knock. When he walks into a studio, you can feel the hierarchy. He's not just another producer. He's the boss, the plug, the gate. And when he posts on Instagram about business moves, there's always a deeper message behind the flex. Control your masters, own your sound, build your empire. It's part motivation, part warning. What separates Maphorisa from others is that he doesn't just talk about ownership, he enforces it. He's been vocal about how young artists sign away their power because they don't understand contracts. In his words, I fought big for these artists, but sometimes the same protection he offers feels like domination to those inside his orbit. You can almost think of Maphorisa's empire like a spider web. Each artist, each label, each deal is connected through threads that all lead back to him. BlaqBoy Music, Piano Hub, New Money Gang. These aren't just logos, they're networks of influence. When Electromode got acquired by Ingrooves, that network plugged directly into a global machine. Suddenly, a large share of Amapiano's biggest records were under distribution deals linked to his circle. That meant that even if he wasn't on a song, the route to international platforms still passed through his network. That's not coincidence. That's architecture. And in a genre as young and fast-moving as Amapiano, that kind of central control can look like salvation or suffocation, depending on which side of the door you're on. For every artist who praises him as a mentor, there's another who feels boxed out. For every hit he produces, there's a story about someone left uncredited or underpaid. But even his critics can't deny the facts. DJ Maphorisa changed the game.
Mengithi ngiyada bathi amaphephandaba athi ngelanga lescope angazi Kings of some events bankai card wena no Stompi no amanga la bankai card bathi nyopa impahla nina na shy over budget.
Nah, you know what happened there?
Nina na
man po. Mina ikhathi unkai mina no Stompi ikhathi uskai for a music video ever start. And then mind you, this now maybe 1 week straight ukuhlangana. Wasika ikhathi athi poisons go grab one outfit angeke mfethu ufuna imali ebhaya asika record na nix khane so shoot ever start. So yasinceda uHotman, shout out to him also. Wasinceda feel wasika ikhathi hamba so stasha vele sabuya sa shoot yonke into abababa. Afana uPaul uyayisusa indlala bafethu.
No coins to come back.
Sfiso. So Mlindo, you went to 00000. There was a time like that. Yeah, I had to actually call Pori from Potchefstroom. So like Poison, me, I never actually had like a fight with you. Yeah. You don't remember me saying 1, 2, 3 to you or something. So Poison, hey, me, I need to come back to Joburg. I need to work. Then Pori sent me like 20K.
That's used to chaos, people are bound to question who's really in control. The truth is, Maphorisa operates like the industry itself, complex, ambitious, and unapologetically about ownership. He understands that in modern music, the real stars are not just the ones on stage. They're the ones who control the paperwork, the publishing, and the pipeline. That's the Maphorisa model. And the more you look at it, the clearer it becomes that Maphorisa didn't just become a gatekeeper by accident. He learned from watching how global moguls play the game. From Drake's OVO model to Jay-Z's Rock Nation blueprint, control the sound, own the rights, then expand into everything else. Maphorisa did the same thing, just the South African way. He turned Amapiano from a township sound into a cultural export worth millions. He built alliances with streaming platforms, distribution companies, and brand partners. He even blurred the lines between genres, jumping from Afrobeats to Gomu to Deep House, producing for international stars like Wizkid, Drake, and Major Lazer. Every move added another layer of influence, and yet the more powerful he became, the more he became a target. Online debates painted him as both hero and villain. Some called him the King of Amapiano. Others, the most hated man in Amapiano. But maybe that's just the price of leadership in an industry built on ego and hustle. Maphorisa seems aware of it all. He's seen the backlash, the accusations, the fans turning him into a symbol of everything wrong and right with South African music. But instead of retreating, he leans into it. He posts videos in private jets, flaunts designer gear, and captions his post with phrases like boss moves and I own my masters, because for him, the hate doesn't matter. The legacy does. When he speaks about his career, there's a recurring theme: sacrifice. He says he took risks others wouldn't, that he fought industry battles so others could win. And whether you believe that or not, it's hard to deny that the landscape looks different because of him. Without Maphorisa, there might be no Scorpion Kings era, no global Amapiano tours, no seamless pipeline connecting township producers to streaming platforms in New York, London, or Tokyo. But at the same time, his rise exposes an uncomfortable truth about the music industry here and everywhere else. Every time someone becomes powerful enough to break barriers, they also become powerful enough to build them. And that's the paradox of being a gatekeeper. You can't open the door for everyone. You can only decide who walks in first. DJ Maphorisa is not just a musician. He's a system Don Juan that rewards loyalty, punishes carelessness, and runs on ambition. A system that has made him both the father of modern Amapiano and the man accused of hoarding its keys. But maybe that's the real lesson here. If you want to be an industry gatekeeper, you can't just make hits. You have to make infrastructure. You have to think beyond the music, beyond the moment, and build something that forces the world to come through you. Because in a business where fame fades, ownership lasts forever. And DJ Maphorisa figured that out long before anyone else did. He understood that being the gatekeeper isn't about power. It's about permanence. And love him or hate him, he's proven that no one lasts in this game by waiting for permission. DJ Maphorisa didn't wait for a seat at the table. He built the table and then decided who gets to eat.